of a Facebook town hall with Parks and Recreation. We're concentrating on the new, exciting Switchyard Park, and I have with me here Dave Williams, who is the Director of Operations and Development for Parks and Recreation. He's been with the city for 25 years, right, Dave?
Correct.
Great. And Dave's going to give us a little overview of the project and sort of talk about a timeline, and then we're going to go into some questions I've already collected and then some hopefully live questions. So if you have questions, please definitely share them in the comments and I will get to them and Dave will answer them. And later on we're going to have Julie Ramey, the community engagement rep from Parks and Rec, talking about parks programming this summer. Well, thank you, Dave. I want you to give us a little overview of Switchyard, maybe a little bit of a history and what the timeline's looking like.
Well, the history goes back quite a few years. The railroad's been in Bloomington for about, the railroad arrived in Bloomington in 1853, and this railroad switchyard was constructed in around 1910. So there's a long history of railroad commerce in Bloomington that was going gangbusters until starting the 70s, 80s, into the early 90s. Much of Bloomington's manufacturing base was in decline. RCA, Westinghouse, manufacturing plants that relied on the railroad to ship their product out of town, the railroad was losing customers. So going back to Mayor Allison, there was a indication or an advisement that the rail corridor was the first opportunity presented to the city as being potentially declared surplus. Would the city be interested in acquiring what is now the Beeline Trail?
And what year was that?
It was about 95, and there were long-term negotiations with CSX Railroad, but clearly I think there was a strong vision on the part of the community that we did not want a strip of essentially no man's land through the center of our downtown, that we coveted the opportunity to have an urban, more like a linear park arrangement through downtown. So we really geared up during Mayor Fernandez's administration, secured some federal funding to acquire and to build in 2 phases the Beeline Trail, which was completed in 2009. And then we kind of stepped back and waited for the railroad to determine the status of the roughly 28 acres that comprised the switchyard. They had indicated that they were sure about declaring it surplus, had gone through the process of removing tracks and ties. We did a tremendous amount of environmental testing and sampling of the site to make sure we knew what lied underneath and whether it was a level of liability that the city wanted to take on. So the Switchyard property was acquired in 2009. We enlisted the services of Rundell Ernstberger Associates out of Indianapolis beginning in 2011 to conduct a very comprehensive master plan study for the park, which not only included the typical arrangement of what should go in the 28 acres, but also looking very analytically at the property and how it could serve as an economic development catalyst for an area of the community that looked very much the same as when the railroad had left town. Obviously there's no physical signs of the RCA plant anymore, but much of the area looks as it did 30, 40, 50 years ago, the giant warehouses alongside the tracks, things of that nature. The city moved ahead at the conclusion of the master plan in 2012 basically we sat for a few years kind of assembling or strategizing about how we could aggregate the funds to build such a big project. And that took all the way to the end of Mayor Krzan's term, and then Mayor Hamilton, I think, is the one that really launched by way of several TIF-funded bond projects throughout the community, not just Switchyard Park. Switchyard Park is obviously one of the bigger, if not the biggest, project allocation of funds.
So what's a TIF bond?
Tax increment finance districts in the community. There's the downtown district. There's an aggregation of districts together to create bond funding capability. So there's a tremendous list of projects, infrastructure improvement projects, but this is the flagship project as far as a brand new facility.
Is that from state or federal? Or
it's local.
Local.
Property tax assessments, improvements to property within the district, and there's been some legislative changes that I'm not terribly familiar with, but my understanding is that there's a sunsetting of TIF districts. So if you were going to aggregate your funds and bond for large-scale projects such as Switchyard, you had to get going. So in 2015, we hired the same firm that did the master plan, Rundell Ernstberger, to lead us through a 2-year design phase. And it's a very complex, very challenging piece of property. Has a lot of constraints. Environmental is one, floodplain is another. Access is certainly another, but we looked at a lot of things, not only inside the park for design, but the effects that a brand new park facility would have on the adjoining area as well.
It seems like people are having
In February of 2018, we bid it in April. I think we're somewhat subject to an extremely competitive environment for construction. I think the public sector is moved well out of the recession era days where there was not a lot of public project spending. And we had 2 local contractors bid on the project, and Weddle Brothers was within our estimates and within our funding limits. And so then it was a series of approvals with the Redevelopment Commission and the Park Board.
So we went with a local developer?
We did, and I think that's good not only for us. We've worked with Weddle Brothers before. Weddle Brothers is a long-time, well-regarded contractor in Bloomington, and having a company that has their reputation at stake for a legacy project in Bloomington, I think speaks well for them, that they wanted to be a part of the project. They wanted to be the builder of Bloomington's next park, so we're looking forward to working with them. They are officially started. They have 753 days to complete the project.
753 days.
753
All right,
days.
we should start a counter.
Yes, so we did. The counting started last week. They will slowly mobilize into the site and begin clearing the property. And then based on their construction schedule, erect the facilities and other things. But they have until the 1st of November of 2019 for what's referred to as an intermediate completion, to where the park is largely open and operating. Now, clearly in November, some things that are more seasonal won't be up and running, but they will be functional. And then we will spill over into the end of May 2020, where we anticipate a lot of the very temperature-specific plantings will go on.
So by November 2019, we'll have things like swing sets, or what should we expect?
A usable park facility. The playground will be open, the trails will be constructed, the pavilion will be usable, the BPD substation will be occupied. It will be what's referred to in the contractor industry a punch list, things that need to be corrected or weren't done quite to our satisfaction. But largely what causes us to spill over into the spring of the following year is the plantings. There's a tremendous number of trees and native plants. This park will feature 100% native plants, which
100% native
plants.
It
coincides with the department change that we made a couple of years ago, to where we think our landscapes, of which we have many in Bloomington, Kirkwood Streetscape, parks throughout the city, Miller Showers Park, any place that there's a public area landscaping, the likelihood is that the Parks Operations Division has responsibility for it. So we've made a concerted change to go to high-performing landscapes. We want more, not only the aesthetic beauty, but we want our landscapes to contribute to the local ecology, pollinators, birds, nesting habitat, things of that nature too. So we've made the plunge into going 100% native plants.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's a move that's pretty progressive, but one that a lot of parks departments that have the types of landscaping responsibilities we have done. And we've also integrated a pest management program where our chemical use is minimal, if any. We don't do turf treatments. We do have a war on our hands, a fight to control invasive species throughout Bloomington and our outlying natural properties. So there is a chemical use, but it's very precise with public notification, a lot of prohibitions and regulations. So we think native plants will work well in that regard, and I think it's something that the community has already embraced.
Nice. So you mentioned about contamination and soil, and I know, so used to be an actual switchyard where there were train stations, so there's
Correct.
lots of contamination in that area.
There
And
is.
so what has the city done to rectify that?
Well, we started with a tremendous number of using several different consultants, soil sampling. What lies underneath? What is the level of toxicity? What is the concern to human health when it goes from obviously an industrial brownfield to a public recreation facility?
Right.
But we largely follow the same template that we did for the Beeline Trail. The predominant chemical of concern are the byproducts of coal ash and cinders.
Coal ash and
Coal
cinder?
ash and cinder, which is a byproduct of combustion, typically locomotives back in the day. It was used as a structural material, a fill, and there are depths of coal ash and cinders in the switchyard, which is wall to wall, 4 to 6 feet deep. Over 100 odd years, you can imagine that was a material that they built roads with, parked locomotives and train cars on.
Yeah.
We did testing. We followed the directives that we did on the Beeline Trail through the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, their brownfield program. So the Beeline Trail was a kind of a flag-setting, precedent-setting, award-winning remediation project handled through the state. And you don't have to go through the state, but we wanted to set the remediation bar as high as we could. We agreed to an environmental restrictive covenant for the Beeline Trail.
And what does that mean?
That means if we or anyone else that wants to connect to our property or build on our Beeline corridor property, we have to pull out the location. In this area, there were these levels of contaminants requiring this level of dirt. Essentially, the remediation solution is either to cap it with a hard impervious surface like an asphalt trail or a concrete sidewalk.
Like the Beeline?
Like the Beeline. The adjoining vegetated or turfed areas have, depending on the levels that were revealed in the sampling, a level of clean dirt, topsoil. That's basically the protection for the public recreating on the top to what lies below. It's an inert material, doesn't migrate, and we have no groundwater being drawn from it. So whenever that remediation cap is disturbed, we are obliged by way of the covenant to make sure that the excavated waste is taken to an approved landfill with all the manifests that document that our waste ended up in a legally disposed manner, restore the cap. And, so if we dig a tree, if they put in a sidewalk or a utility line, it is a bit onerous, but again, we set the bar high. We've won a state environmental award, an EPA region award, and I think it's not the most inexpensive way to do things, but to assure the public that what they're recreating on, be it the Beeline or Switchyard Park, is safe.
Right, because children will be playing in the park,
Absolutely.
right? So we want to know that our children are safe.
So we followed the same procedures, set the bar equally high. We had no intentions of lowering our standards, and we've worked with the Brownfield program. We're all on first name basis now because we've worked with them for years. So we're guided by one of our sub-consultants that, again, was a partner with us on the Beeline Trail. So we will follow that requirement throughout the Switchyard construction.
So along these sort of eco lines and eco way of thinking, we do have a question here from, let's see where to go. I can't find it, but she asked, why were so many trees raised?
Well, we did a tree inventory as far as the master plan. There, as you might imagine, in a project, and it's interesting to look at the Switchyard over its years, and we have historic aerial photographs which basically showed that if the railroad needed to reconfigure the direction of Clear Creek, they just did. Obviously, you are prohibited in numerous ways from doing that now. So many of the trees, other than the Clear Creek corridor, which we are not intruding upon, were stunted. There were, I think, only 30 trees that were over 30 inches in diameter, and again, mostly along the creek. A lot of invasive species had migrated onto the site in that interim period where the railroad stopped their activities and the site was basically vacant. So specimen trees, there were not, there are very few. The few that we feel like were not in the way of the development template, we have worked around. In some cases, we've reposition buildings and hard surfaces and parking lots, things of that nature, to work around the existing trees, the handful of them that were worthy of preservation. When the park is done, we'll have over 600 new trees brought in and over 2,000 what we're referring to as reforestation trees along the creek. We're really working hard to restore this industrial site to a native planted site, getting rid of the invasives and putting in species of trees that will survive and
So does that
thrive.
mean there's going to be 2,600 new trees planted?
Along the creek primarily. Now, the 600 trees will be the big trees, the specimen trees, the landscape quality trees, but we're putting in, and they won't be the whips, they'll be 4 to 5 feet, but we're planting those alongside Clear Creek so we can kind of restore the natural creek edge that's been kind of modified over the years.
Cool. So let's just talk briefly before we get any more questions about the features of the park. What's going to be included in the park? What can people look forward to?
Well, let me look at my
using?
cheat sheet from
Yeah.
starting from the north, which would be Grimes Lane. We will have
We do have some graphics. Do we want to show? There we go.
Oh,
It's
sure.
up. All right.
We're looking kind of from the northeast down towards the park. To the right of the photograph, all the way to the north, what is not pictured is the entrance off of Grimes. We will be using pervious pavement parking lots. That is the best way to go.
Yeah.
We will be draining our stormwater runoff through those pavements. But starting from the Grimes Lane entrance, the first facility, and frankly the only remnant of the railroad past, is a fairly nondescript building at Grimes Lane that was used as a maintenance facility for a very short period of its history. It was a passenger depot. That will become a Bloomington Police Department substation. So the police department will have a presence in the park, and obviously that does not exist anywhere else today.
And we'll talk more about that later. I think
Sure.
it's an important feature.
Right. And then there's a series of linear placed active outdoor facilities. Basketball, pickleball, which is for those that may have their knees or their ankles or their feet or their elbows can't survive racing around on a standard tennis court. Pickleball is probably a pursuit they might want to look at.
So we've even thought about accessibility and how
Yes.
every single person of every single level.
And that
could
was
use the
clearly
park.
something that we had a lot of reach out on our master plan, a lot of public input through various devices and meetings.
Great.
And a park for all ages, all interests, all pursuits was certainly something that resonated with us. So we'll have pickleball, bocce ball, fitness stations is a trend that we're also trying to jump on board emerging recreation trends for public spaces. So fitness stations are a big one now. They make them to be durable and weatherproof to where you can step on an elliptical or do push-ups or pull-ups or sit-ups.
Great.
I think we've also created a space around them for informal instruction and classes. The prerequisite garden sites will have 39 raised flower beds or planting beds, about 4 foot by 8 foot each, in a fenced area.
And that's a community garden?
That
so
is community gardens similar to Willie Streeter at Winslow Woods Park, and Butler Gardens up at Reverend Butler Park, very popular program. Moving south, we'll have some open areas, some kind of discretionary areas. We'll have a parking lot at Walnut Street, an outdoor stage. One of the things that staff and the community felt like is that we've kind of outgrown our performance venues at Bryant Park and at 3rd Street Park. So this will be a very large venue. You can see in the photograph the open field to the left. This is about just shy of 6 acres of gathering lawns. So if you can envision an event, for example, like Taste of Bloomington, could easily fit in this facility. So an outdoor stage, a canopied stage, something that's much bigger and will facilitate our programs and outdoor performances in a much bigger way for attendance as well as programs as part of the idea. A playground, a fully accessible playground with rubberized surface, a kind of a casual seating area, densely shaded, referred to often in European designs as a bosque, where we will again jump on board the emerging trend of placing tables and chairs where you want to sit instead of us determining where you will sit, how you will congregate. So there'll be independently movable tables and chairs. So if you and your colleagues want to have a picnic, that's one thing. If you want to have your staff meeting at the park, you'll be able to
Oh,
do
wow,
that
that's
together.
great.
So we're trying to think of how do we get you to come here, gather here, stay here. So we spent a lot of time on the Creature Conference. We'll have Wi-Fi in this park,
Wi-Fi in the park?
which is something we've never
Right.
offered, to where, you know, it'll be a lot more, I think, non-traditional uses, other, not just I'm going to this park to recreate.
Yes.
Well, certainly you're welcome, but you can also do non-traditional uses. Students can throw their laptop in the backpack, ride the Beeline Trail, have a quieter, more contemplative place to do their work.
That's great.
The flagship facility is an 11,000 square foot pavilion, which will be an indoor-outdoor facility. So we have a climate-controlled interior of about 7,000 square feet, but we can also open up garage doors and make it like an open-air shelter. And that is surrounded by what we're referring to as the platform, which is a very large area, a hardscape area, paver area, where we will have a splash pad, a water playground, which we think will be a hit.
Can I interrupt you? I know I
Sure.
have a question about the splash pad.
Yeah.
Somebody asked what the floor of the splash pad would look like. Is that
Well,
gonna be,
the biggest thing, we have to facilitate drainage, and we have to make sure that it's not a slippery surface. And we also have to make sure that the surface does in itself breed mold or bacteria or anything like that. So it is a paver stone that has a slight bit of aggregate on it for a little bit of a grippy surface, not something that you feel on your bare feet, but will help resist slips and falls.
Is that similar to car splash pad, or is it different?
No, I believe it may be, but that's the standard of the industry. You don't want, as you would have in the playground, the rubbery, cushiony fall protection surface where water isn't an issue, and waterborne bacteria
And mold and
things like
gotcha.
that. Yeah, although the water is treated, chemically treated, just like it would be in a swimming pool and a splash pad, we don't want it to be on sanitary surface. So this is standard. It is not something that if you fell upon it was going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And this is a spray feature or a splash pad that the water shoots up in various different configurations. But when it's not being used, and it's a splash pad, it becomes part of the plaza area. You can literally walk across it. There's nothing that sticks above the surface that would interrupt the area to be reserved for an event.
Multi-use then, that's great.
Multi-use. We have another smaller performance lawn by the Pavilion. Obviously, the Pavilion, we think, will become a community gathering place. And then two other facilities that really were kind of the winners as far as popular vote and stuffing the ballot box, so to speak, was the prerequisite dog park. Was the #1 vote getter, and we have one dog park out at Ferguson Dog Park out by Lake Griffey. This would be a second one divided into big dog, little dog areas, about 5 acres.
That's great.
And-
I know lots of people ask about dog
Right,
parks. They don't
and
know about
it's
parks.
the least optional, and it's off the Beeline Trail, so we think that'll be a hit as well. And then the skate park, which was a bit of a surprise, but there still is a very strong constituency, very dedicated, interested constituency in Bloomington. We do have a skate park on Kinzer Pike. This will be an entirely different kind of skating venue, more of a street style with those types of elements and obstacles. But those folks were heavily engaged in the project. Public comment from the very beginning have long advocated for this facility, and it was bid as an alternate, which gave us the discretion of whether to include it or not, but ultimately the decision was unanimous to include it.
That's great. Okay.
Other than that, and a lot of native plants, a lot of trees, will also be daylighting a stream, and this has become kind of it has become a way for urban areas, particularly. It's all about attracting future employers, future employees, and where parks can contribute is in the quality of life, the amenities. I'm going to apply for a job in Bloomington. I hear they have a great trails and parks department. That's what we're obviously, our contribution to economic development is. But this will be a historically culverted leg of Clear Creek that went under the Switchyard and discharged into Clear Creek. We will open it up slow the velocity of it down. By doing so, improve what discharges in the Clear Creek, plant it with native plants, and it'll be not only a visual but an ecological enhancement to the park as well.
Fantastic. I'm so excited. I hope that our residents are really excited. Now, we do have some questions
Sure.
I definitely want to make sure that we get into. Let's see. So Denise Valkyrie says, just want to say the Broadview neighborhood is very excited about the new park and the positive impact it will have on our community. As an individual, I'm happy that we have so this is just a comment. Shakespeare in the park. That's great. Thanks, Denise. Will the park construction affect the Beeline, as in become a park road? Will any roads or the Beeline be closed during the construction? What is the estimated travel impact on the existing roads that have entrances to the park? And then to draw on that, I know that somebody down here asked if there was any sort of traffic impact studies. That's Sarah Larson. Thank you, Sarah.
I think that the biggest transportation question that has always been out there was whether or not Hillside Drive would be extended from its existing terminus at Walnut or just west of Walnut through the park to Rogers Street. We included that study as part of the master plan in 2012. We did traffic counts and directions and engineering analysis, and ultimately the determination of those studies was that if it went through the park, it would have a moderate impact on improvements of east-west traffic movement. The home run, so to speak, would be to get not just to Rogers Street, but all the way to Adams Street, and then even then we knew I-69 was a likelihood. So you can argue both ways, even a moderate impact. Some people say, I'll take moderate, that's fine. But I think ultimately there was a consensus decision made early on in the project that we wanted to keep roads out of the park, not only internal park roads that really led nowhere but just drove you around within the park, and we would evaluate the Hillside suggestion, but ultimately it was decided that we would not allow it to go through the park. It would be a very expensive project, not that this park project isn't
Right.
expensive, but in order to keep the road infrastructure out of the floodplain, it would require a lot of bridges. So there was cost, intrusion in the park design, and ultimately was it really going to help that much? Maybe it would be a start of something big, and I would certainly accept that premise. But Mayor Cruzan at the time determined that we would not put it in, but he held out the caveat that we would also not encumber that right-of-way, that width, with permanent buildings. So in the event that someone in the future says, hey, Hillside's going through, then it would affect the park to a certain degree, but it would not require tearing down buildings that were built 5 years earlier. It would, we have reserved the space. Now there would be tree removals and things like that, but no permanent structures will occupy the Hillside right away. As far as construction traffic, we will do everything we can, and I've already warned the contractor that there's a confluence of a lot of construction going on, as there always is.
Yes, there is.
In the summer in Bloomington. We'll want to be very coordinated in that. In fact, we've already had those conversations. Will there be temporary disruptions? Absolutely. Will there be closures? I don't think so. We do have to connect our utilities into Rogers Street, into Grimes Lane, into Walnut, and there'll be some construction activities that will be minor inconveniences, but we don't anticipate complete shutdowns, for example, like what's going on at Country Club, and we'll do it in a very coordinated way to minimize the inconvenience to the public.
Okay. Great. Was there a traffic impact study on the park entrances, or is that, since there's no roads going into it, I guess?
Yeah, there's no road. It's not like you can use the park entrances as a shortcut to outside the park. So I think that, if you're going into the park, you're either turning around because you're lost, or the park is your destination. We have not overdone the parking, and we have numerous points of entry for alternative transportation, for bike and ped. And I think, now, if we have a Taste of Bloomington type event or a large concert performance, then we're going to have to work with our partners around the community to use maybe school parking lots, seasonal facilities that would allow on those occasions only for us to spill over. But in anyone's rule book, you don't build a public venue for that one occasion where you're gonna have 10,000 people attend, then you're spending a lot of money on pavement and parking lots that are never occupied.
Yes.
So we designed our parking with about 380 spaces based on what we think the typical daily use will be.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to talk more about parking and public safety.
Okay.
So how many parking spots are there going to be, and what are you going to do when there is a big concert in the park? And
Yeah.
Overfill?
Well, there'll be the
Overflow.
main entrance and parking, the biggest allocation of parking spaces will be on Rogers Street. And we will have 114 spaces there. I might also mention there'll be spaces for food trucks off
food trucks.
of Rogers Street.
Great.
I'm sorry, it's 138 spaces. And also there'll be a couple of electric vehicle charging stations too, which help us gain lead points for the requirements we have for our constructed facilities.
Can you just speak up a little
Yes,
bit?
Grimes Lane will have 114 spaces, and Walnut Street will have 43, and then we will have, if the event warrants, an overflow area of about 91 spaces. So total is 386 spaces.
386.
And we think that's appropriate for a park that's not only configured the way it is, kind of long and narrow, but also with 3 entrances as well.
Great. And you mentioned there's going to be a Bloomington Police Department substation at the park.
Correct.
How is that
Correct.
going to be utilized? What's going to...
Well, it's largely up to the police chief and his department as to how he occupies or staffs it, but we've worked diligently with them for 2 years to the type of building that they wanted. And as to how many officers to report there, or the shifts or whatever, but clearly they will have a presence in the park at the gateway entrance to the park, which I think will allay some apprehension, some fears many have expressed about, will this park be safe for me?
Right.
And I think clearly when you have their physical presence in the park, which really doesn't exist anywhere else other than their main headquarters on 3rd Street, I think that will help.
Plus, I was talking to Paula about, she's the director of Parks and Recreation, about, how programming, that's why you keep people in the park, and it just is a safer park if you have people engaged. And
Absolutely.
so there is a lot of plans for doing a lot of programming in the
There
park
is,
as well.
and I think, there's an old adage in this profession, people come where people are.
Yes.
And you only have to look at Bryant Park as being an indicator, literally 24/7, of a park that you can not only see from corner to corner, but there's always people in it, whether we are programming it or they're just people walking their dogs and having picnics and jogging and using the playground. So you have to activate spaces. You have to have, as I indicated, a diversity of opportunities. Hey, I don't play tennis anymore, but pickleball looks pretty neat. I've never skateboarded in my life, but I'm going to sit by these bleachers and watch these guys do some amazing tricks.
Yeah.
Concerts, programs, yes, we will activate the space. And frankly, we spent a lot more time with regard to ensuring public safety on activating the space, programming the space, making diverse opportunities for recreation or contemplation or staff meetings or lunches or potlucks or whatever. Going to lunch with the food trucks are there. And then secondarily, the police department substation, and this park will have camera surveillance. I think for some that's a big change, and it is. For others, it will give that assurance of safety and that keep people on their toes as far as their behavior in their park. But the most successful parks in any location, I always use Bryant Park in New York City, which had a very sketchy past and history of crime and violence until they activated the space with food and fashion shows and programs and like crazy, and it's a mecca for people to come to, and that is very simple. It displaces the ne'er-do-wells, and that's the recipe for a successful park.
Yes. So we're past the design phase right now, right? Spencer Taylor has an idea for design of an interactive, environmentally sustainable stage light art installation. Is there any way?
Well, art installations, I would suggest you talk to Sean Starowitz. But yeah, and as is always the case, not everyone is engaged or aware when you're doing the design, and we've had several follow-ups. We've had requests for facilities that weren't originally included, but we also have allocated kind of unassigned discretionary space. So if we ever wanted to add an activity or an athletic facility of some kind, a recreational facility, we think we can do that in this park. So I would encourage people to continue giving us their public input.
Great. And the Beeline will remain open through the whole entire construction? Is it going to be affected
Well,
in any way?
if Beeline Trail users know that when the Utilities Department, which is the first disturber of this property by putting in a very large sanitary sewer, they were required, because one of the routes of the sewer line basically took out the original section of the Beeline Trail, to do a detour. And they've since paved the original section. The first requirement is with regard to construction of the contractor will be before they close the original section of the Beeline Trail south of the bridge, which is where the platform, the pavilion, and a lot of the hardscape areas will go. They have to construct what we refer to as the Beeline Detour. So there will be a way for trail users to safely navigate around the park's construction more towards the creek, come out at the south end of the park, and then get back on the original alignment of the Beeline. We think it will be great. For one, it's a very popular trail, not only the Beeline, but for trails that lie south of the Beeline, Cross Country Club. But also people will be able to get a safe view of the construction project as the project moves along.
Okay, thank you. Katharina Cox asks about the restrooms. Do you know if they'll be gender specific or?
We long ago had a policy of what we refer to as unisex restrooms. So Cascades Playground, RCA Park Playground, and this facility will have unisex enclosures to where all the necessary plumbing facilities will be available to the public if you're an individual, or if you need to bring all your kids in and change into your swimming suits, the splash pad, all the comforts will be there. It allows us to have the opportunity for anyone to use the facilities. Also, if it's a slow day, if it's a rainy day, we don't have to have men's and women's open. We can have maybe one or two enclosures that will suit male and female, and we don't have to operate and clean and maintain facilities that are surplus to our needs at that time. If there's vandalism, we can shut one down, repair it, and everyone else can go about their business. So that has been a department policy for many years and will remain so in the Switchyard as well. And there'll be public restrooms at the police station on the north side of the park, the splash pad facility, and at the pavilion.
Okay. Let's see. About how will the park be maintained? Aaron asks, when the city can't keep up with the maintenance and all of the new concrete planters in the street. So you just want to talk about how the park will be maintained?
Well, I'm not sure about the concrete planters. We have removed a lot of the stray pots and aggregated our plantings into the larger expanses, like on the downtown corners of the square or Kirkwood. And native plants over time, not in their first 5 years, but native plants over time need less water, less chemicals, and I think that will serve us very well. So the native plant is not only an ecological enhancement, we think it will lower our maintenance costs over time.
Great.
And as far as maintaining it, we go in this operation of this park with our eyes wide open. We're doing an evaluation of our organizational strength as far as numbers of employees, budget dollars. Obviously, we have to compete with other departments that have needs for other things. But we also have very strong support from our Parks Foundation that can kind of fill in on the edges where we lack money or funds. And we have a tremendous core of volunteers that have been with us for many, many years to help plant, to help maintain our trails, things of that nature. So yes, clearly this is a very expensive property to construct, and our operating costs will be more than we're typically familiar with, but we go into it knowing that we'll have the resources necessary to operate it.
Great. I have one more question we're going to get to, and then we're going to bring in Julie Ramey, who will be talking about summer programming in our parks right now that's available right now. We don't have to wait until November 2019. But I do want to ask you one question. If you're just joining, I'm Laura Collins, the City of Bloomington's Digital Communications Specialist. I'm here with Dave Williams, who is the Director of Development and Operations for Parks and Recreation. We're talking about Switchyard Park right now. So there have been several people offline and online who have asked about the impact of surrounding neighborhoods, whether it be sound, noises, traffic? What sort of considerations were taken to make sure that our neighboring neighborhoods
Well,
are...
first of all, we met with the neighborhood associations. For example, the Broadview Neighborhood Association. We met with the business owners on Walnut Street, with the private business owners on Grimes Lane, with the warehouse operators on Rogers Street. So we felt like we engaged a lot of stakeholders as to what are your future plans? How can we complement each other? And I'm not privy to private development proposals. They've often kept close to the vest, but I think what you're going to see is reinvestment in this area for facilities and retail establishments and residential establishments that are complementary to the park. And I think that's where the catalyst for economic development happens. Now, will property values rise? Yes, I think that's inevitable.
That was a question we had, I saw it.
Yeah, by way of a study we did with the Kelly School of Business at IU, the before and afters, logical.
Yeah.
If you live next to a railroad, your property values are X. If you live next to a popular recreational facilities, it's X plus. And I think the same situation will occur here. I think, and I've had people express to me, well, I'm worried about that I'll be priced out of my home. And I get that, but I think the other thing that has been moving for quite some time, not just with Switchyard Park, is the Beeline Trail has really changed everything downtown. And then if you throw in that the convention center now owns property and now has a funding source to expand all the way to 2nd Street, where literally it was a block and a half north of that was the extent of their boundaries. You extend and stretch the downtown towards this facility, towards Switchyard Park. You look at the development that has occurred on Morton Street, which in my youth was rarely traveled by anyone. You have Hopscotch Coffee, you have Cardinal Spirits, you have the Beeline Station Homes, the kind of the row houses. I think it's inevitable that the downtown is going to kind of extend to Switchyard. And I think the development will occur, property values will raise. I can't tell you the number of people that are either interested in relocating in Bloomington or are moving from states away or maybe affiliated with IU, and they say, we've heard about this park, where is it? Because we want to be within walking distance of it. So I think overall it's a good thing. This is one of those rare projects we think that not only is a Parks and Recreation public facility, but will help spur investment in the area as well.
And that's why it's important. I mean, the mayor does want to bring this in for those sort of economic value, but also he has the affordable housing plan as well.
As in
they
the
sort
case
of go
of
hand in hand.
buying the Night Moves Adult Center. I mean, I want to clarify that is not part of our project, but clearly there is interest, as there was in the Certified Tech Park, of controlling the future development. To have the city have more say in what happens, and hopefully there'll be very complementary developments of those properties adjoining the park.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
I know there's some more questions, and I will definitely hit Dave up to get the answers, and I will answer where you've commented later, if that's okay with you, Dave.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure to get everyone's questions answered. Thank you so much for tuning in for this first part about Switchyard, and now, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
You can depart. And I'm going to bring in Julie Ramey. Julie is the Community Relations Manager for Parks and Recreation.
Hi, Laura.
Hey.
Now I'm going to have to scoot the chair down a little bit. Dave's a lot taller than I am.
You can come closer to me like we're good pals. All right, well, thank you so much. So
You're very welcome.
I just talked about all this exciting things that the Parks and Rec is developing for Switchyard Park. But we have a lot of things coming up this summer that people can get engaged with. Plus, we have a special bicentennial tree planting that kind of brings in Switchyard as well, because folks can, you want to talk about that, how folks can purchase trees that will be planted in Switchyard Park, in our area schools, and so go ahead and we can talk about that.
Yeah, of course, 2018 is our bicentennial year, celebrating Bloomington's and Monroe County's 200th birthday. And there's an old saying, a proverb, that the best time to plant a tree is 100 years ago, and the second best time is today. So we have really embraced that concept of bicentennial celebration and trees for the future, looking forward to the next couple hundred years of Bloomington trees. So Bloomington is Indiana's very first Tree City, USA.
Yes.
We became a Tree City, USA in 1984, believe it or not.
Tommy Allison was mayor. She initiated that, yes.
Yeah, so, and Indiana's first Tree City, we've been a Tree City every single year since then because people in Bloomington love their trees.
They do.
So that's very heartening. And we decided to celebrate the Bicentennial by giving people in Bloomington yet more opportunities to love their trees. So there is a Bicentennial tree planting program that allows people to contribute $100 to have a tree planted in a city park of their choice or in an MCCSC school, at an MCCSC school. So several schools have already jumped on board. The Girl Scout Troop 3103 just planted a tree at Benford this week. So that was very exciting for the girls of Troop 3103. And the Daisy Troop there at Rogers is also interested in contributing and planting a tree at their school.
That's a great program for
a fantastic program, and you take ownership of the tree and you watch it grow as you grow, and hopefully the Girl Scouts will come back to the tree and remember that they planted it and that it's going to provide shade for many future students. So there's opportunities to do that and plant a tree in your favorite park as well. So if there's a park that you like to go to, maybe your neighborhood park or the one that you just enjoy spending time in, then you can contribute to have a tree planted in a city park.
Great. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
And
nothing bad about trees.
for the next 200 years.
At least 200 years.
At least. Okay, so let's talk about parks programming this summer. If anyone has any questions, make sure you ask them in the comments here. So you want to start off talking about some of the planned programming that we offer.
Well,
this
the
summer.
big question that we get, especially this time of year, is when are the pools going to open?
When?
So everybody wants to know
Yes.
because they're being filled with water right now, and there's a
Cool.
reason for that. We start filling the pools pretty early, lots and lots of gallons going in there. We get all the chemicals all calibrated so that on opening day, which this year is Saturday, May 26th.
Okay, write that on your calendar.
Write it on your
Saturday,
calendars.
May 26th.
It's Memorial Day weekend, which is our
Easy to
traditional
remember.
traditional Saturday for opening.
Uh-huh.
So Bryant Park Pool and Mills Pool will both be open on that day, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. through the rest of the summer. So that's a good thing to have on your calendar.
Yes.
We're doing swimming lessons this year. Not only do we have 11 different class levels of swimming lessons, we have Saturday lessons.
Oh, perfect.
At Mills Pool, we have lessons at Bryant Park Pool, 11 different levels for swimming lessons. So there are lots of anywhere from the little tadpoles, just learning how to swim, to diving programs and competitive swimming programs. So really trying to ramp up our swimming program. Of course, swimming, a lifelong skill. Even as your joints get stiff, you can always enjoy recreating and swimming and staying active in the pool. And of course, swimming is an important skill, potentially life-saving skill. So we encourage everybody to know how to swim and are happy to provide the opportunity to do that through our swim lessons.
Great. And how would the public know when it's open swim? Like, when do these lessons happen so that the pool closes for lessons? Is that right?
The pool is the lessons are scheduled kind of around the pool open
Okay.
times.
Good.
So that we can do both at once. Maybe close the lap lane while we're
Okay.
having swimming lessons.
Gotcha.
But the best place to go to find all the list of all the swimming prerequisites, what you should be able to do and know is bloomington.in.gov/parks. And in the blue bar halfway down that site is a number that says 2 pools. And if you click on the number 2 pools in that blue bar, then that'll take you to both of our pool pages and all the swimming lessons.
Great. That's perfect. Awesome. And so pool rates are changing this year, I hear.
Yes, we did a really careful study historically at Bryant Park Pool. Bryant Park Pool has 3 water slides, a big drop slide into the diving well, and then the blue slide and the white slide is, very creative names there, but we're historically had charged an additional fee to use the water slides.
Okay.
So our aquatics manager did a study of what people are paying in admission, and there was youth admission and adult admission. So this year, for the very first time, there's a flat entrance fee, admission fee to both pools, and includes water slides, everything, it's a whole package deal, and that's $6 a person. So no matter your age, $6 a person for the water slides.
Okay.
Or for the water slides, pool admission, everything.
Okay, got it. And so, but we're still doing our pool waiver program, right? So
We
folks
have a
can
fee
apply.
waiver program so that if you meet the guidelines, there's federal guidelines for free admission to the pools, and if you call our front office at Parks and Recreation, and that number is 349-3700, they can tell you the paperwork that you'll need. So things like proof of residency. So we offer pool waivers for city residents. So you have to bring a proof of residency, a lease that you signed, a utility bill, something like that.
Okay.
And then your W-2s or something that shows your income level. And then you can, for I think it's a $2 application fee, and then you can, if you qualify, you can get admission to the pool, either Bryant Park Pool or Mills Pool, at no charge for the summer.
Okay, great. And you can still buy, so you have punch passes, is that right?
We do.
Folks
You can
buy?
get a
Is
discount.
that-
If you know you're
okay.
going to be visiting the pool a lot during the summer, learning how to swim or just playing in the water, then you
Yeah.
can get a punch pass. So it's a 10, 20, and 50 admission
Okay.
passes. So if you just want to do it all at once, get your punch pass, and then take the whole family, punch, 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 and
Right.
you're in.
And
So
that
there's
gives you an overall discount.
an overall discount on your individual admissions.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you. So what else? So I know. Concerts in the park.
Oh, movies in the
People-
park.
and
Nothing
movies,
says Bloomington
concerts,
like
and movies in the
yeah.
park.
Nothing says Bloomington like
Yes.
free music and movies in the park. So
Yes.
our concert series started already. We launched the concert series with the Strawberry Shortcake Festival that was last week. Of course, kind of a bummer. The music got rained out.
Yeah.
But the People's Park concert series has started every Tuesday at 4:30. There is a live musical performance downtown in People's Park, and from 4:30 till 6 p.m. So invite every Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday
Every
night.
Tuesday. Okay.
And just free stop by, grab some ice cream, grab some Kirkwood takeout, just have a picnic dinner in the park and enjoy some live music by local performers, our local and regional musical performances, singers, songwriters,
All
bands,
family
groups,
friendly.
all family friendly, absolutely.
Good. Awesome. And then movies at Bryant Park, right?
Movies are in several different parks.
Yeah, okay.
We're showing movies one a month. Now, we used to have a movie series kind of toward the end of the summer season, but this year we're trying something new, and we're going to start on June 2nd. So June 2nd is what we're calling the Summer Sampler, and that is at Bryant Park. From 5 until 8 p.m. we have play day, so drop in, play with our giant Jenga, play with the Imagination Playground, active games for kids, families of all ages. The Summer Sampler has a theme about trees. So we're going to have a tree-themed entertainment with Malcolm Dalglish will be playing, Billy B, the nature science song and dance man is performing, and then we're showing the Lorax at 9 o'clock.
Cool.
So
Perfect.
it's
Yeah.
a great tree-themed day, and kicking off the whole summer concert, movies, everything series in Bryant Park on June 2nd.
Okay. Great. I do have a question here from
Okay.
Joel Barron. He asks, why do we not offer season passes for the pool? Like
Well,
like a pay
that's-
one price and you just get in as much as you want.
That's not so far-fetched. It's something we can definitely talk to our aquatics manager about and see what might work for something like a season pass.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Joel. And Lake Griffey, the boathouse. Is that open
Boathouse
yet?
is open every
It's
day.
open.
Open every day from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. So at the Boathouse, if you want to fish, and it's a great. We stock Griffey Lake
Oh,
with
we
channel catfish,
Okay.
largemouth bass, and red ear sunfish.
Okay.
So it's stocked in the lake, and I hear the fishing's very good.
Do
especially
people
this
bring their
time of
own
year.
poles or do we rent
Bring
poles
your
as
own,
well?
bring your own poles
Okay.
and your valid Indiana fishing license,
course.
because you do have to have a fishing license at Griffey Lake.
Yes.
But if you're sad, you don't have your own boat, we got you covered. We can rent you a rowboat, a canoe, a kayak, or even a stand-up paddleboard if that's your thing.
Oh.
Maybe if not fish and paddleboard, but we do have stand-up paddleboards. And those rent for $8 an hour.
Okay.
And you just come by the boathouse and rent one of the above or all of the above and spend a day on the lake.
Cool. That's a good day to me. We should do that right now.
Right
It's
now,
so nice outside.
we should be out at Griffey Lake right now.
We should. So what other kids free programs for kids over at Banneker? Like what's coming up that you want to sort of highlight and talk about?
Well, getting your preschooler, early elementary school kids out and about and getting them active and involved and engaged and away from the TV can sometimes be hard. So at Banneker we have lots of free programming just for especially parents with really young children. Every Friday morning we have a program called Physical Fridays, and we open up the Banneker Center, the gymnasium, the 3rd floor Family Resource Center, just for active play. So meet other people, run around. We have lots of both active and passive type balls to bounce and kick and play, and cars to ride, and all kinds of active things to do every Friday morning. And then Mondays is a program called Toy Time. So Toy Time both Monday mornings and from 5 to 7 on Monday evenings. Come by the Banneker Center, totally free. It's all drop-in. Take advantage of the books and toys on the 3rd floor.
Nice.
Again, meet other parents, trade parenting stories, things like that, and get to know your community.
Great. Are there any other children's programs that are happening outside of Banneker that we should highlight or talk about? Or
Well, our Kid City Summer Camp is definitely
Yes.
our big kid program for the
Yes.
summer. So Kid City starts on, that's the first Monday I think that school's out, one of the first Monday in June. And Kid City has something for everyone. Kids stay really active and engaged in the community. Field trips, they run and walk everywhere. So it's a good way for kids to stay fit over the summer because they're always on the move. They go swimming at least a couple days a week at our city pools. My son, when he was in Kid City, he grew up in Kid City, and he loved the trip to the art museum and to the library and to Spring Mill State Park and some of the other fun places that the kids get to go on field trips every week. So if you have an elementary school age student and you're thinking, how am I going to get them busy this summer, then Kid City is a great place to go. We'd love to have you. So that's bloomington.in.gov/KidCity.
Kid City. And what time to what time does that program run through the week?
It opens up at 7:30 in the morning, so you can drop your kids off at 7:30, and that's at the Allison Jukebox Community Center at 351 South Washington Street, just near the police station in 3rd Street Park. So that's where we have Kid City, 7:30 until 5:30 every day.
Oh, very good. So the whole work day, you're
The
covered
whole
if
workday.
you're a working parent. Okay, so we're kind of running out of time here, and our battery for our camera is sort of
There's
running
too
out.
much going on to talk
Too
about
much,
it all.
too much. But so you want to mention our trails and our sort of like less passive sort of things that people can do just on their own?
Yeah, if your schedule doesn't allow you to go to an 8 o'clock program or a 4 o'clock concert, then the Beeline Trail, the Clear Creek Trail, the Bloomington Rail Trail, the Cascades Park Trail, we have trails and parks that are for you to use. They're there for the community to be a part of, and you don't have to be a little kid to swing on the swings and enjoy it.
No,
so
I do.
Really encourage. We have more than 30 park sites, so just encouraging everybody to visit there. Maybe visit every park this summer.
Yes, more than 30 parks in Bloomington.
Plenty to do. So visit every single park this summer and let us know what you think. Tell us about it, and we'd love to just have people come out and enjoy their parks.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us, Julie.
Well,
and
thank you very
talking
much.
about
Thanks
what we're
everybody
gonna be
for
having.
listening in.
Yes, thank you for listening. And again, I'm Laura Collins, Digital Communication Specialist. This is Julie Ramey, Community Engagement.
Community Relations Manager.
Thank you. So thanks for watching. And again, any questions that remain unanswered, I'll work to get answers for you. Thank you.
Thank you.